Well, Heather, Rachel, and Ella, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Oh, hello.
Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Heather, can you start off and introduce yourself and tell us where we are? What school do you teach at?
We teach at Westwood High School. We're over at Westwood High School in Blythewood, South Carolina. And this is a sports medicine class. So they take sports medicine 1 in the fall, and now we're in sports medicine 2 right now.
And Rachel and Ella, would you each introduce yourselves and tell us what grade you're in, starting with Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel Brown and I'm in 11th grade.
Hi, I'm Ella Boston and I'm also in 11th grade.
Fantastic. And where, Heather, where exactly is Blythewood?
We're a little bit outside of Columbia. We're right kind of on the border of Columbia. So we're close to the city, but we also are kind of close to the country at the same time.
Sort of a suburb, but on the way out to the rural country then?
On the way out.
And how big is your school?
We have about 1,500, about 1,600 students. The school's only been open, this is year 11 or 12? 11. So we kind of keep growing and growing. Like you said, we're close to that suburb kind of mix. So we have a lot of new neighborhoods coming up. So our freshman classes keep getting bigger and bigger.
And Heather, how long have you taught at this school?
This is my 5th year.
And where were you teaching before?
So actually, I wasn't a teacher. I'm a certified athletic trainer. So we came in under a program for being some type of medical professional for a minimum of, I believe it's 3 years. You can start teaching in that field. So I've been certified as an athletic trainer now. This is my 15th year as an athletic trainer. So I was actually in the clinic before I worked for an orthopedic surgeon.
Ah, what kind of clinic? Was it nearby, something in South Carolina also?
It was, that was actually in downtown. I worked a lot with our total hip and total knee doctor, but that clinic went through foot, ankle, pretty much a little bit of everything. We had a trauma doc, so a little bit of everything.
Wow. And when you say you were in a clinic, were you assisting with surgeries or things like that?
So as the athletic trainer, it kind of depended on the clinic and what the doctor wanted from us, but we did a lot of suturing and stapling, cast on, cast off, brace on, brace off, post-op rehab, pre-rehab, kind of anything. Athletic trainers are pretty versatile, so pretty much whatever the doctor ordered is what we did.
And has this been a lifelong passion of yours, Heather?
I wanted to be an athletic trainer when I was in high school. I couldn't decide between athletic training and nutrition. I took my first college chemistry class and decided that ain't it. So went into athletic training. I was a little bit afraid off the bat if I could handle stress and trauma and what was happening on the field in the moment. And now we get comments all the time of how do you not react? And it just kind of, you get used to it and you start to flow with it.
Gotcha. So now at the school, and that's what we want to focus on, I assume, given your title, but tell me if I'm wrong, that you're also out on the field with the games and monitoring situations with different competitions, probably with all different sports, but you're also teaching?
Correct. So I teach in the morning. I teach 1st through 4th period, our first half of the day. So from 9 till about 12:30 or so. And then the second half of the day, I have about an hour and a half to eat lunch and kind of get myself together. And then we change roles and we go into athletic training. So rehab, conditioning, evaluation, concussion management, and then we go outside for practices and games. We have quite a variety of varsity sports, football, volleyball, track, cross country, baseball, softball, soccer, multiple teams and levels in each one, golf and tennis. So lots of different sports. And these guys actually are not only in my class, but they come out with me on the field and actually apply what they're learning out there with me.
Great. Wow. Well, let's start with Rachel then. Rachel, is this an interest of yours? How long have you had this interest? And is this something you're thinking of pursuing as a career even, or are you just studying it because it's interesting?
All of the above. I do want to pursue a career in this when I'm older. I want to go into sports psychology, which is one of the focuses that we have in sports medicine. I started Sports Med 1 fall semester of 2021, but I wasn't able to continue that into 2022 spring semester, so I'm doing it now in 2023. And I really enjoy it. I have developed an interest in it, specifically the psychological side, and being able to see all the different components of sports medicine and all that goes into it. I want to be able to help people on the mental side, as I feel like it's often neglected with sports and different athletes.
Yeah, mental skills are as important as the physical skills. For sure. Yeah. Are you an athlete also?
Yes, sir. I play volleyball.
Gotcha. Wow. And Ella, how about you? Give us a little background. Is this something a more recent passion or something you've had for a long time?
So I knew I always wanted to be in the medical field. And actually growing up, I really didn't watch a lot of sports. So when I got to high school, I figured out what athletic training was, and I joined sports medicine my junior year. I
Like the end of
actually,
sophomore
yeah,
year.
end of sophomore year actually, and I developed a passion for it. Like I figured out this is actually what I want to do. So I do want to be a team physician further down the line, specifically focusing on football because that's the one sport that I really do love. Yeah, so Heather kind of helped me get into that.
And
That's
she's
great.
also different. Her mother is also a physician, so she's been in medicine since she was a baby, somehow getting exposed. And so she knew the general category where she wanted to go. She just wasn't 100% sure where she wanted to end up.
Gotcha. And you're an athlete also?
No, I used to swim, but I don't do that anymore. I tend to get hurt.
Uh-huh.
So.
Yeah. So Rachel and Ella, tell me a little bit about your duties when you go out to support Heather and the athletic training staff on the field. What are your duties? Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe starting with Ella this time.
So we help a lot with, like, especially for football and other spring sports, we help a lot with setup, which usually consists of filling ice chests, getting water ready, bringing out the blue bag, the splint bag. The blue bag has all of our super important stuff like the AED, blood pressure cup, stuff like that. And then we just help like facilitate the area. So like if an athlete gets hurt, we perform wound care, simple stuff like that. If an athlete gets really injured, normally Heather will go out and then we'll go out and assist her. We have our kits on and we like hand her stuff if she needs anything, stuff like that.
Rachel, have you been involved in any specific, really kind of serious situations?
I've been involved in a few. We haven't had a really major emergency where it was
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Had some kind of like heart-stopping moments that we have to be a part of. Ella mainly covered like everything that we do on the field, but we also help Heather off the field after rehab or after injury with rehab, preventing injuries from occurring, taping inside the training room, being helping people and helping the athletes develop their strength and develop their range of motion and increasing their flexibility so we don't have to have those issues when we're actually on the field.
Gotcha. Heather, can you talk a little bit about your anatomy instruction and what does that look like?
So when I teach the anatomy, like I said, I do have them, most of them, Ella got to go straight through, Rachel had to kind of split it up. You can't learn an injury until you know where it is. Like, okay, great, you have an ankle sprain, but okay, what? Like, what do you want me to do with this? Is it a sprain or is it a fracture? So more in the ones, we kind of do some coloring and some pictures. We have some models. And they don't really get to touch the mannequins a whole lot just yet, but we start kind of introducing them to kind of what the concepts are. You know, how many bones are really down there? Is that more than one bone? We kind of do the basics. When we get into 2, that's when they really get into how to figure out what this injury is. Is this a sprain? Is this a strain? Learning special tests. And we get a little fussing sometimes about anatomy. Well, I don't wanna. But I said, you can't tell me what's wrong if you don't know what you're looking at. So we typically start a unit off. I break it down by body part. And we'll start with reviewing the bones and going over muscles and ligaments, and then really starting to add to it and get to the details. So that way, when they start learning their special tests, how to do their evaluation, they know what they're talking about. And I can use things like go to the malleolus, go to lateral malleolus, go to lateral malleolus, and they know they can find out where they're going. They can find themselves.
Gotcha. What courses do you teach in the morning? Do you teach courses that are connected to the science department, like around biology or human anatomy courses, or is it just focused on sports medicine?
I teach sports medicine 1 and 2. I'm part of the CTE, the Career and Technology Department.
Gotcha.
I'm down on, it's not really, it kind of has moved a little bit. People kind of moving around. I actually have the anatomy and physiology teacher. She's the door right across from me on that side. So she teaches all the anatomy and physiology for the school.
Yeah. Does she use anatomy-inclay as well, or?
She does not. She teaches a lot of like the AP type course anatomy. So they're a lot more structured.
Yep.
I kind of have a checklist of things from the state that I have to teach. So I kind of get to interpret that as I want to, which gives me a lot more freedom to kind of do what I want to do.
Gotcha. And Heather, when did you get exposed to anatomy and clay? Where did you find out about it?
I was at a conference and somebody was out there and I said, okay, that's cool. And that was kind of the end of it for me. It didn't, I was a brand new teacher. I think I'd been teaching like 6 months at that point. So that seemed overwhelming and something that I was not even ready to think about at this point. And then right before COVID hit, Perkins money, we had to spend some Perkins money. And they said, well, what do you want? And I said, I don't know. And I had all these flyers and things from being at that conference. And I said, here, let's put this in. And because I didn't, like I said, really know. And then they approved it. And I said, oh, I guess I got to learn this now. And they sent me to one of those courses. I went out to Texas to learn how to teach it. And I really actually got to do it. And the instructor walked us through how they interpret it. And she had a very similar school to us. Like you said, we're kind of on that border of the rule kind of area. We are not a level 1 school, but we do have a lot of lower income houses. So hearing her, how she teaches it and how she uses it was pretty cool. And how even if you don't have a lot of money or supplies or options, some of the things that she does, you don't necessarily have great cabinets and all this other stuff, but she's like, you go to Publix and get some brown paper bags and cover them up and it works just as good. And hearing her kind of troubleshoot made me feel better. And then the mannequins came and I remember being like, this is a lot of money and a lot of stuff to not mess up. And the first year we learned together and I figured out what not to do kind of quick. We figured it out what wasn't working and we figured it out. And it's gotten stronger and better every year.
What would you say are some of those things you learned not to do?
Don't say go without some type of model or example.
Yeah.
Here I'm laughing at. Don't say go. Be specific with what you're talking about. As from the teacher, and they're probably going to say something different. It feels like there's a little bit of a fear because I believe, I can't remember where I got it from, but somebody had a birth certificate where it talks about how you sign out and it's got the cost and whatnot. And I feel like some of them have a fear, like, well, what if I break it? And don't do it on purpose. Don't slam it in the wall and you'll be fine. Like, we'll figure it out. Don't be afraid. But I'm not good at art. I'm not good at arts and crafts. I said, okay, good, because that's on the other side of the building. This is sports med. You're okay.
Right.
Well, what happens if it's crooked or this or that? Said, okay, then fix it. Like, it's not that big a deal. So trying to get some of that fear out of them a little bit.
Yeah.
Is kind of a big one.
Rachel, what was your reaction to learning with anatomy and clay?
I really enjoyed it. It was something that we started doing in sports med too. So I didn't initially experience it when I took it my sophomore year in the fall. I really liked it. It helped me be able to see the anatomy and where it truly is. Because looking at like a screen or a sheet of paper, looking at it 2D is one thing, but being able to actually physically touch it and like manipulate the clay to see how the structures run together, that was a total like eye-opening experience for me. It helped me to learn about the anatomy, learn like where each part is, and actually be able to see and feel it. As we all know, like anatomy all runs together and it's all on top of each other, but having to actually place it starting from scratch and build up on top of what is where, that was helpful to see how the structures are interconnected and function together.
Terrific. Ella, give me some of your thoughts. What were your impressions?
So my initial reaction was probably, oh, I really don't want to do this. I'm not super artistic at all. But the way Heather introduced it, she introduced it as our baby. So we actually named ours Casanova Douglas. And you form like sort of an attachment to it because you just like get to start building upon it. It's like yours. It's what you're making. It comes from your head. So it was a good idea for us to be able to develop that attachment to it, as well as being able to put the structures down, know where they are. We are able to study it and it's not boring. It's super fun. So I really enjoyed it.
They actually just had their funerals today for their babies. We had to bury the babies back. They get a baby in a diaper bag, and their diaper bag has their clay and all that stuff. And it's really funny when you have a teacher that's not used to being in here and you say, go get your baby in your diaper bag, and everybody kind of looks at you side eye. They know what we're talking about, but
some people might think you're talking about, this is not a program for teen moms. It's
no.
Yeah, that's great. What is it about hands-on learning, Ella, that why is hands-on learning so effective, do you think?
So for me personally, I grew up at a Montessori school. So that's always been my learning style. I've never been the type of person to just hear something or like see it and be able to do it. I have to physically put hands on something. I think that's the best way to learn, because you'll never know how to do something unless you try it first. So being able to trial and error myself, that's a lot easier than just like, oh, go do this. Okay, well, I don't know how to do it just from hearing you say it or like seeing you do it. I need to be able to do it first so that I can get further feedback. I think that's the best way to learn personally.
Yep. Rachel, any thoughts on that?
I agree with Ella. I know for some topics, sometimes you can just like look at something and see it, but specifically with anatomy and with the human body, being able to actually put it on yourself and manipulate the clay yourself to see where each thing fits. That's how you're able to really learn about it, because you can hear it and then it goes in one ear and out the other. You can look at it and then as soon as you turn away, that is gone. But being able to actually use multiple senses where you're trying to pick up with your hands and trying to place it onto your baby or your mannequin while trying to see what the function is, all of those in conjunction, like using all those senses helps you to truly learn the concepts that you're going over.
Yep.
And one of the kind of cool things from the teaching side, they do the heart first second.
I think second.
It's one of the first things. I think GI is the first thing we do, and then we do heart.
Yeah.
And I don't, you can hear him laughing. I don't really give them direction as to like size and whatnot. And that's the first one, and they're kind of figuring it out. They're laughing. So they make this giant like intestines and large intestines and small intestines, and then they make the heart, and they're like, but it doesn't fit. Okay, so what's wrong with this picture? And then the heart is where it kind of clicks. Like you have this vision in your head, what you think it looks like. And then when you actually put it together, oh, that's not really it. Like things are a lot tighter than you think. They're not, you don't have all the space that you think you have.
Yeah. Gives you a different perspective. Like your intestines aren't all the way up here; they're actually lower.
That was the joke, because they had their intestines up in their ribs. And I'm like, girl, why don't we look at a picture real quick?
Yep. Rachel, do you feel like you know yourself better as a human being, having been through this as a mammal, as a person, as a creature on this planet?
I do. I feel like learning the anatomy helps me learn more about myself in general. And as I said earlier, I am an athlete. I currently play volleyball, and then I've played other sports in the past. So being able to say like, oh, this is where this muscle is, this is where this ligament is, helps me to know. And then I can better articulate whenever something is wrong or whenever something does hurt. Like I know it's not this muscle, it's definitely this muscle, or at least in this area, this region. So that's able to help myself and like any doctors or physicians or wonderful athletic trainers that I may go to.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a lifelong skill. You'll be able to communicate with anybody taking care of you down the road.
Right.
Yep. Ella, any thoughts on that?
I know for me, when I learned the anatomy, I know I got hurt back in October doing a cartwheel, and before, I don't know that I would have been able to like accurately describe where my pain was or like what was actually hurting. But I know after I went through this class, I was like, oh, that's just my hamstrings and PCL. So like, I know where it is, I can apply the knowledge. And I think that's like a super important skill that I've gained from doing this whole experience.
And it's
Excellent.
funny, we have a lot of athletes in here too, and they'll be on the field. Oh, it's my gastrocnemius muscle. Stop it. Like, it's kind of funny.
That's great. Very good. Well, just quickly, how do your teams do? Do you have good competitive teams?
We have teams.
You have teams.
Our girls basketball team went all the way to state.
Yeah.
And like I said, we are the baby in this district. Other schools are 40 plus years old. We are the babies. So we're still getting our feet under us. The boys went, I think it's considered 2 rounds. They got 2 games into playoffs, boys baseball for the first time. Girls softball got
like 4
rounds.
4-ish rounds. That was the first time in school history. We got a lot of firsts happening now.
Yeah.
We kind of got our feet under us, and now we're starting to get better and better as we go. The girls softball, it was 4 or 5 rounds. They were quite successful. Our girls basketball has run girls region,
like 6 or
7 like since the dawn, pretty much. Our volleyball team our girls volleyball team typically goes to region.
Our track team is also pretty good.
Track has got a few state records. So like I said, we've got our feet under us, and now we're starting to actually, there was a lot of learning because we didn't start with everything. And it's kind of been adding.
Right. And Heather, what do seniors do in your program? What are Ella and Rachel looking at in their senior year in terms of your program?
So as specifically in the field part of it, going out on the field with us, like she said, I think Ella said she started at the end of her sophomore year. We kind of bring the newbies in at the end, in the end of spring, to get ready, because we have football that starts in the summer. So these guys now, I'm not holding these guys' hands anymore. It's their job to now teach. And I step back and watch them try to teach, especially this one. She'll look at me, she goes, I know it, I don't know how to say it. Like,
Yeah.
that's fun of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I said, you've got to know it to be able to teach it, and you have to be able to say it multiple ways. So they get to run the show now. I'm here for back. I'm never going to leave you by yourself. But ultimately, this is your show, and I'm here to support you. And if you get stuck or you don't know, absolutely, I'm not going to leave you out there to do CPR by yourself. But, you know, I teach you this and we practice, right? And they love it when I make athletes fall out and I go go practice. Oh no, somebody's hurt. What's wrong with them? I don't know, go find out. So they love that kind of stuff. So they'll be in charge of kind of running that now. Like I said, I support them. We do a lot with our program. We are one of the only honor societies on the East Coast. We're the only one in South Carolina. So they're part of the National Honor Society of Sports Medicine, those that are in the after school program. So they're the second induction class, this group. So part of that is community service. Part of that is taking that knowledge from the classroom and from the field out there, and they'll be more lead. Like I said, they get to be in charge and run. We started the teddy bear clinic this year. The seniors kind of started that, and then these guys have already started to build on that, so we can teach elementary kids kind of about the health science careers and whatnot. So they get to be the boss now. I just sit back and make sure they don't do anything too crazy or get some super crazy idea.
Yeah. And how about classroom wise, as seniors, what will they be dealing with?
So they've actually taken Sports Med 1 and 2 in our, I believe, I'm going to say state, I'm pretty sure it's statewide. We really want our students to kind of do like a major, for lack of better terms. We want them to do a completer. We call them completers. So all of our CATE classes have a set pathway. So these guys have already done Sports Med 1 and Sports Med 2. They'll just need one more supportive class, and they'll be recognized at graduation as being that completer, kind of having that focus or that major on whatever they've done. There's lots of different options at our school with the health sciences. We have a very strong health science CATE department. So classroom wise, like one of my seniors this year was my student aide. So she gets to walk around, and we both kind of walk around and give feedback. And she has seen it from a different perspective than I have. So she can give them something that I can't. So Ella has room in her schedule. I'm not sure. We're working on Rachel's a little bit, but Rachel got a crazy schedule. So we'll see if that one works out. But it's fun when they come in too, because they remember it different than I do. And they get to give that feedback to the new students about how to problem solve and ways to get through things.
Yep. Great. And just kind of as we start to wrap up here, Rachel and Ella, could each of you tell me what you're planning beyond high school? Do you have sights set on anything afterwards at this point? Rachel?
Okay, so after high school, I want to go to Clemson University and major, and I believe the major is called it's language and international health, I believe.
International.
So you'll focus on like the medical side of it, of whatever your specialty is, and then also learning a language, and you go and study abroad and just study abroad in your target language, a country that has your target language, while still practicing the medical side of it. And then after that, I want to pursue a career in sports psychology.
That is fantastic. Yeah, terrific. Ella?
I too want to go to Clemson University, and my major will be international health and language as well. And then after I complete that, I plan on doing residency as like an emergency doc, and then going further and having a fellowship in sports medicine, and then being a team physician, hopefully.
Wow.
And
Those
these
are
guys,
terrific.
they go back and forth, who's first and who's second in their class. They like to go back and forth, who's one and two.
Wow.
So.
Wow. So in a year, we'll know who's number one and who's number two.
Who made it out?
Are you going to, maybe you'll work it out so you exactly tie?
Got it.
That's that competitive, that sports med thing.
Wow. Wow, Heather, what you've I've got to give you an opening to talk a little bit about these two sitting next to you, that you must be very impressed with their motivation, their talents.
I do. And sometimes I try to trick them and I come back and I was like, well, you did that too fast. Can't be smarter than me. Hold on. I gotta think of something else. So I like to try to mess with them a little bit. See if I can be harder on them.
That's great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, Heather?
No, like I said, I think I like adding it in the classroom. It mixes it up. We do notes, we do other things, but it's nice every once in a while, our new unit, hey, go get your baby, go get your diaper bag, let's go. And just to do something different, put some music on and let them kind of get the wiggles out and still learn.
Yeah. Well, Heather, Rachel, and Ella, thank you so much for your time today. And we wish you all the best and in everything you do, and have a great summer and a great senior year, and carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you.